Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
All right, Burn Nation, welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I am your host for today's episode. This is episode 511, and we are answering a question on Ask Devan Anything from Brittany from Troy, Michigan. Shout out to Troy, Michigan crew, by the way, franchise partners Dustin Wilds and Jessica Chauvin. We definitely love you guys in the home state, my home state, the Michigan, the Mitten. Let's go, okay, Troy? So Brittany, thank you for your question. And her question is pain a sign to stop, or is it a sign to keep pushing forward? Now, as you are probably noticing, if you're a fan of the podcast, every single week we have a theme. The theme this week is all around pain, injury, push to not push, how to keep progress going, and how to modify around injuries so that you can really end up getting to where you want to go. Progress equals happiness, okay? So I'm going to walk you through, we went semi-deep in episode 510 on understanding the pain spectrum, and I'm going to go deeper on the pain spectrum, okay? There's four kind of parts to the pain spectrum. Functional discomfort, which is good, okay? Compensatory strain, which is okay. It's, we're starting to, feel some stuff. Acute pain, which is sharp, okay? Red pain, and then chronic pain, which is kind of ongoing, all right? And I'm going to break down each one of these. And in conjunction with 510, I want you to go back and listen to 510 too, okay? I'll give you enough information here on 511, but I'm really answering the question that Brittany had from 510. And so, yes, each week we're going to have a theme, and each week I want you to consume each one of these episodes. I'm going to start with functional discomfort, okay? Functional discomfort is, if you can think about this, is like, this is the green phase, okay? We're good to go here. This is physiologically, this is what we want. These are the micro tears, all right? All micro tears are, and you've probably heard that term before, is the muscle fiber or the muscle cell. Those two terms are interchangeable. It's when we tear those muscle fibers and the muscle begins to lactate, we start to feel that burn. The heart rate usually goes up in association with that. And you have these like pain receptors, these nociceptors that can actually sense pain, and you're feeling the pain. But this is just functional discomfort. This is, as an example, this is when you're in a finisher at camp, right? And we say, hey, this is the hardest part of your workout. You're going to do this finisher right here, and you're going to leave this building stronger than when you came. And these are the final reps. And, psychologically, you actually feel like you're in control. There's no, ouch, that hurts. You feel like you're in control. There's some pain. Functional discomfort is what we like to call it, okay? This is good. I don't want you to mistake your muscle burning with bad pain. And this is oftentimes, what I hear from maybe a new member who isn't used to exercise, who maybe comes in for the first time and like, oh, my muscle's supposed to be like really burning like this because I feel I'm burning pretty bad. And the answer is they shouldn't burn so bad on your first couple days because we don't want to overtrain. But yes, you should feel that burning sensation in your muscle. This is good pain. Now let's go into what, and listen, this is just, most people know this. That's common knowledge, that there's a good pain and we want to feel that, okay? They say like no pain, no gain, which has a little bit of truth through it. Also, I think everything has a little bit of truth through it, but also no pain, no gain isn't necessarily true either. That's a story we'll save for another day. Compensatory strain, okay? Compensatory strain. You can think about this as like cautionary, like yellow, okay? Physically, what happens is you might get like this secondary muscle usage. So if I have a shoulder that really bothers me and I'm really trying to stay away from my shoulder, I might get some compensatory strain. I might overactivate my trap muscle, my levator muscle might get active, and I might start to really start to activate that whole kind of upper trap, levator, scalene complex, and I might try to stay away from that lateral delt or that front delt, and you can't sustain the pattern. So like from a neurological perspective, you can't sustain the pattern and you know it. It's like you can't keep doing that over and over and over. You're having to compensate. And psychologically, you're just telling yourself like, hey, something isn't right here. You know something's wrong. I have this right now in my shoulder. When I do a chest press, what happens is when I lower down the chest press, there's a part of that range of motion right in kind of that middle part of the movement on the eccentric, okay? The eccentric, the lowering down or the lengthening of my chest when I open up my chest, not the concentric when I push up, or the power, the shortening of the muscle, the contraction, but on the eccentric, I lower down, my right shoulder just kind of really bothers me, okay? But what happens is I start to feel like my tricep, I start to feel even my lat like start to engage underneath my pectoral muscles to try to like overcome for this strain that I'm feeling in my shoulder, and it kind of takes the pain away from the shoulder, but I know I can't sustain that. It's not good form, and I know that something isn't right. If you have ever seen somebody do a squat, if you can close your eyes and visualize this, or maybe you've done this before yourself. When you go down the squat and your knees kind of cave in, okay, this is called the knee valgus. Okay, your knees start to cave in. You are using secondary, like you have an imbalance, okay, and you are using muscles that are overcompensating for underactive muscles. So your adductor muscles might be the muscle that's pulling in the knees inward because you have an underactive glute medius. Okay, and so it's not in this cautionary compensatory strain level. It's not that you can't continue working out. It's that we really need to modify. Okay, we talked about this back in the first episode. You know, what we need to do here is like modify. We need to think of our methods of training, form, load, and rep manipulation. What we need to do is to make an adjustment. If you're in the yellow and you're in this compensatory strain phase, make an adjustment. Check your form. It's form over everything in the methods of training at Burn. And then reduce your load if your form's good. And then if you've checked your form's perfect, you've reduced the load and you're just at body weight and it's still bothering you, just stop the movement altogether, modify it, do something different, Brittany, okay? I hope this is helping you so far. Let's move on to the third. This is called acute pain. This is red. This is like alert, alert, alert. What happens psychologically is that we say to ourselves, no, stop now. If you've ever seen baseball, I'm a big baseball guy. If you didn't know, I got my Charlotte Knights hat on right now. So shout out to the Charlotte Knights here in our hometown. I got my Charlotte Knights hat on. If you've seen a Charlotte Knight or a Major League Baseball player running down the first baseline, and all of a sudden you see them pull up because they tweaked that hamstring, you know what's happening right there is they pulled their hamstring. They have a strain. It's acute. They stop. Okay, it's like you can't keep going. This is tissue trauma, people. Okay, from like a neuroscience perspective, you're bypassing that kind of amygdala brain filter. You're bypassing that brain filter, that prefrontal cortex that's saying like, I know this is painful, but like let's keep moving. No. The amygdala, the fight or flight limbic part of your brain is like, no, we got to stop. Like, flight, run, don't do this anymore. This is actually really painful. There's no, logically thinking your way through this. That's what acute pain is. You pull your hamstring during a sprint. You have to stop now. It's dangerous. Do not continue to push through any acute pain. All right, this is going to be sharp. It's going to be invasive. You're not going to like it very much, okay? And then we'll move into chronic pain. Now, chronic pain is when you actually have pain that is persisting over time, okay? Like after you maybe tear a hamstring, or a lot of times I see calf strains. Calf strains, it's in the calves, it's in the hamstrings. A lot of times it's in the shoulder muscles, it's in the tendons, the elbows, the shoulders, the knees. That's really where you see it, the hips. That's where you see it most of the time, and then you might move into like ankles and wrists and neck. But obviously where the joints and the muscles are all interacting, where we have these levers, that is where you're going to get a lot of this acute pain. And once you've done what we talked about in episode 511, or 510 rather, is that if you do prehab, and I went through like 3 things you can do for prehab. You can activate small muscles before you try to dominate big ones. You can do more mobility or full range of motion before you add load. And you can intentionally do kind of key functional movement patterns with controlled eccentric load for tendon health. You do these things, it's like prehab. You're going to reduce your risk of getting injured and then having to go into rehab. But a lot of times we get this chronic pain. This is phase number 4 in the pain spectrum. This is like that gray, kind of ongoing, annoying, numbing type pain where it's just like, I'm demotivated or disinterested in doing exercise because now I have this like lower back pain because I was doing a deadlift 2 months ago and I got some acute pain in my back, and I pulled the back muscle, and my body shut down. I couldn't walk. I couldn't stand up straight for 3 straight days. And now I have this kind of this ongoing pain that persists. That's what like physiologically happens. It's this annoying pain. But what ends up happening is from like a neuroscience perspective, you actually get some entanglement with the memory. You get memory pain. Right, you kind of remember the movement, what happened, it was traumatic, and then you start shying away from using that muscle because of this memory entanglement. I talk about neuroplasticity. For those of you who have listened to the podcast religiously, you've heard me talk about neuroplasticity and what that really means, or your brain's ability to wire and fire different neurological patterns or neurological grooves. And when you have this acute pain, your brain remembers that, like, you wire and fire a set of neurons. It's like, ooh, yeah, let's not do that anymore. And this is kind of what I mean when I say neurologically you have some memory behind it. And then what happens is you stop doing the actual movement or stop doing movements like it because of the perception of what might happen. And this is where inactivity creates even worse dysfunction. Okay, so because this is where people confuse compensatory strain, or the yellow, with acute pain in the red. Okay, so this is really important to know the distinct line between strain and acute pain. Okay, yellow and red. Because if you mistake strain for actual pain, then what you're going to do is you're going to have an activity on that muscle group or that set of muscle groups, and then you're going to get even more dysfunction because you're not using it. Do you see how that happens? Okay, so then psychologically, you start asking yourself, why does this still hurt? Why am I always injured? And you start going into this. It can really lead to people being inactive completely if you let that kind of pattern dominate you. And I've seen this before. I've been a victim of this before. My right arm, guys, my right shoulder and elbow from pitching all those years I've wanted to be in the big league since I can remember. Like, I got a picture of me with like puffy hair, puffy blonde hair when I was 3 years old, swinging a baseball bat in the front yard. And since those days, I wanted to be a big leaguer. My dad was a Detroit Tiger minor league guy. And I saw him playing, and I saw his jersey and pictures of him, and I thought he was like amazing, and I wanted to be just like him. And so from a time I could remember, I had my eyes on the big leagues. And so from the time I was 5 years old, I only used my right arm in this asymmetrical pattern over and over and over, and I created this imbalance. I've probably thrown a baseball over 1 million times, I'm not sure. if that's correct, but like lots of times, like hundreds of thousands of times, if not. And, you end up getting, getting this natural imbalance that happens. And so I naturally have a very loose shoulder joint, a very tight elbow joint on one side and not so much on the other side. So I get this level 2 yellow strain on my right shoulder all the time. And I used to think about it before I started understanding corrective exercise science. I would mistake it as acute pain, and I would not lift overhead presses on my right side because it would bother me just a little bit. And I would like cascade that. I was like, if it bothers me a little bit, if I lift on it, then I'm going to get injured. If I get injured, I'm going to be out for good. So let me just not do anything at all. And actually the inactivity made it far, far worse. And I got to the point where I had some acute pain, but wasn't because I overworked it. It's because I underworked it. And I let all those muscles in there just get dormant. And I didn't actually go to correct it with corrective exercise. Most people, and you're probably a victim of this too, will just stretch it because it feels better. But you don't want to just stretch something because it feels better. What you want to do is actually go in and rehab the muscles around it, right? So I had to open up my chest. I had to open up my pec major, okay? I had to open up my front delt, okay? I had to, my entire kind of, scapular complex, if you will, from my upper trap, lower trap, levator, teres major, teres minor, my rhomboids, my lats, they were all super, super tight because they were overcompensating for a loose shoulder joint because your body has to want to keep that shoulder joint in place. And so what I was doing is overcompensating. And so I had to actually go back, learn the science, I got my corrective exercise specialist certification from NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, for this reason. Because I kind of knew a little bit from being around the San Francisco Giants and being around the Central Michigan Chippewas and their CSCSs and, just being around really smart minds. And being in Burn Boot Camp, we have some amazing, amazing talent that taught me a lot about corrective exercise. But I had a problem and I wanted to deal with it. And so what I realized was that I was actually not using it, which was harming me the most. Okay? And then I got into this level 4 chronic pain where I was psychologically just convinced that this was going to just be forever. So what I'm trying to say, long story short here, is pain is a language. Pain is a language, and I want you to learn to speak the language of pain. And not all pain is bad pain. Not all pain is good pain. It has 4 levels. Functional discomfort, that's the green, that's the good pain, that's what I want, that's your muscles burning. Compensatory strain, this is where it's yellow. It bothers you a little bit, but there's something, an issue there, and corrective exercise, not inactivity, is the way to fix it. Acute pain, boom, stop now, red alert, red alert, red alert. Okay, this is the pain I want you to listen to. It's sharp, it's acute, it hurts. Pull hamstring, stop. And then level 4 is that when that acute pain happens, then you go into level 4, chronic pain, and this is where you can actually psychologically and physiologically convince yourself that you just have this issue and it is a part of you and you just don't do anything about it. That is the kind of hierarchy to pain. That's what I mean when I say pain is a language. And Brittany, to answer your question, is pain a sign of stop, or is pain a sign to push? The answer is it depends on what kind of pain through the 4 levels that I just discussed with you. And pain is a language, and I want you to learn to speak the language of pain. All right, everybody? That's it for episode 511. Go back and listen to episode 510. And if you've learned anything, what I want you to do is comment below on this video, or I want you to go back and comment on 510 and let me know what you learned. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We have this brand new Burn Bootcamp podcast YouTube channel, and we want you to subscribe. If you've listened to at least one episode, then you're overdue to subscribe. If you love and you want me to keep coming back here, the way you're going to get me to keep coming back and going into topics just like this even deeper on the Burn Bootcamp podcast is by subscribing. Your subscription, your comments, your engagement is my oxygen. There would be no point to do this if nobody was listening. So show me you're listening and show me that you're engaging by subscribing and commenting on YouTube. We love you guys. Thank you for being here. We're going to take you out like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.